So, to multiply 234 times 23 in two different ways is the first way and the second way. The first way is going to be an old school method that has kind of a new school twist. And so what we can start out with is we can place 234 times 23 in this way. And we're always going to start with our good friend, the ones column on our lower number. So in 23 we start out with the 3. We multiply 3 times 4. So 3 times 4 and we get 12. We stay at the 3 and now we multiply not 3 times 3, but this is actually 3 times 30 because that's in the tens column. So 3 times 30 is the same thing as 3 times 3 add a 0, which would be 90. Then from there we look at 3 times, not 2, but 3 times 200, which is the same thing as 3 times 2 add 2 zeros, which is 600. And now we're halfway done. Now we're going to take a look at the next one, which is instead of working with that 3 in the ones column, we're going to now look at the 2 in the tens column. That 2 in the tens column is not a 2, it's actually considered 20 because it's in the tens column. So now we're going to be multiplying things by 20. So now it's 20 times 4, which is the same thing as 2 times 4 add a 0, which is 80. Then I have 20 times 30. Not 20 times 3, but 20 times 30. And 20 times 30 is the same thing as 2 times 3, but they each have a 0 at the end. They're both in the tens column. How many zeros do we have? We have 2. So you're going to add 2 zeros. So 3 times 2, add 2 zeros, is another 600. And finally, we have 20 times 200. And over here, if you just wanted to look at this, and 200 times 20 is the same thing as 2 times 2. Add how many zeros? 1, 2, 3. So that's going to be 4,000. 3 zeros. So now we make sure that everybody's lined up in the proper spot, and now we add. This is 2 plus nothing because everything else is 0. You have 9 plus 8 plus 10, and this is in the tens column, so those are all tens. So it's really kind of 9 plus 9, which is 18. You have that here, you carry that, and you're going to have 18. And you have the 6 plus 1 plus another 6 is 13. There's the carry that. And then you're going to have 4 plus 5, which is now, as we see, if we want to know where the thousands comma goes, we start out 1, 2, 3. We put that there to 5,382. Now we're only halfway done because now we need to show it in a second way. So we've done the old school method and now we're going to make an array. This is where we can really see these different chunks of our numbers. And the array will have a dimension of 23 by how many? 234? That's pretty big. And so to make it smaller in this box, we can actually do kind of a longer one, which will be considered, you could do 200 at that point. So this could be worth 200. We'll just make it nice and thick here. 30, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can just kind of break this down. So this is 234, right? This is worth 200. This is worth 10. This is worth 10. This is worth 10. and this is 4, right? Just like this is worth 10, this is worth 10, and this is 3. I haven't even drawn my boxes yet. But now all I'm doing is I'm finding the area of these sections now. I'll do that in a different color so you guys can kind of see. So now we're going to be looking for this first box, and the dimensions are 100 by 200. I'm sorry, 10 by 200. So that is going to be like 2 times 1, add a 0, which is how much? Everybody? Or some of you? Doesn't matter how much. So you're going to just add a 0 to that 200 to make 2,000. Okay, so 200 10 times is 2,000. We have another box with the same dimensions, 10 by 200, which is another 2,000. This next area that we're going to find is actually 200 by 123, which is the same thing as 3 times 2, add a couple zeros, which is 600. Okay, and we're kind of seeing the different parts. Notice this here. We have 600 here. So there are different parts here. Okay, and this 4,000 here, this is really kind of those over here. This. And so now we're going to find 10 by 10. Everybody knows that that's 100. Here's another 100. 100. And then we have another here. Same 3, which is 100, 100, and 100, because it's here and here. We're just meeting there. So altogether that's about 600, which is this guy. Now we have 3 by 10. Now I'm just going to make this a big area here. So it's 3 by 30. Same thing as 3 times 3, add a 0. That's 90. That was that part that we talked about. And now we're going to do the small change, which is 10 by 4, which is 40. 10 by 4 again, which is 40. And then the little guy that a lot of you guys have been mistaken.
Wow.
This little guy in the corner, you always have to add that. That's 4 by 3. That's going to be 12. So we're making this huge quilt, right? And so now it's a question of being able to add it up again. Okay, and so right now I can just kind of quickly eyeball this. 2,000 and 2,000 is what? That's 4,000. And then I have all these hundreds. How many hundreds do I have? 600, right? I have another 600 here. I have 90, and then 40 and 40 is what? 80, and then I have that 12. And so, I can just immediately take a look over here. Do these match? Do these groups match? I don't even have to calculate that second one if I know that these groups of numbers match. Right? So if they match, I can double check that. That's when you get the calculator out. That's when you say, did I really make this work? And then you can add that up and you can look at it and say, yeah, I did get 5,382. Last thing, just circle your answers so your teacher knows that you've done it. That's 3 by 2-digit multiplication. And we're done.